Okay, I'm gonna call the meeting to order. If we could please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, welcome to the Town of Riverhead Planning Board meeting. Today is Thursday, November 19th, 2020. Several items on our agenda today. First discussion item, Greg Bergman's application for Peconic Community School.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I've just got a quick update for the application for the Peconic Community School, which, as you recall, is a site plan application which is proposing a change of use for an existing 2,554 square feet building, which was previously used as a retail garden center, to a two-room schoolhouse use. The applicant has submitted an updated plan prepared by Tom Wolpert, professional engineer from Young & Young, dated November 2nd, 2020, which identifies the property boundaries, a detailed drawing of the existing one-story frame building, as well as sanitary system, and has included an aerial overlay which demonstrates the existing conditions on the entirety of the parcel. The plans have been revised from previous iterations and now include a proposed handicapped accessible parking stall, accessible aisle, a handicapped accessible ramp to the building, no commercial traffic sign to be installed along Main Road, and a new gate along the southern portion of the main driveway in order to segregate the commercial and agricultural traffic from driving through the site. It is recommended that this gate not be locked and maintained to be operable to allow emergency vehicle access. The applicant did receive approval from the Suffolk County Department of Health Services. They submitted a plan bearing the approval stamp. Suffolk County Department of Health Services reference number C-20-0310, dated October 24th, 2020, which approved the day school use with a total of 44 occupants. Based on previous recommendations, there was an outdoor pea gravel area which would be used as sort of a recess area for the children. When I conducted a site visit last week, I noted that they installed some wire mesh fencing around that pea gravel area. I did notice a kid kind of hanging off of it, so it will surely prevent the kids from running out into the parking lot or falling off that ledge. The applicant had already paved a portion of the parking area near the building in order to facilitate the installation of the handicapped accessible parking stall as well as handicapped accessible aisle, which can be seen on page 3 of the staff report. So we have prepared a administrative approval resolution which includes the following conditions: that the applicant must receive all necessary building permits and use permits from the building department. They must receive any applicable fire marshal permits. That the proposed gate along the southern driveway must remain open and accessible to emergency vehicles and shall not be locked or otherwise impede reasonable access to the rear portion of the property. And that prior to the issuance of a certificate of occupancy, they need to appropriately stripe the handicap parking stall and install necessary signage, as well as ensure that the no commercial traffic signage is installed along Main Road. I will note, and I will call it up during the resolutions, that the resolution provided to you will be revised to include a note that prior to the issuance of a building permit, the plans will be revised to include a note referencing that Suffolk County Department of Health Services approval.
Greg, is this part of Riverhead Central School District, or is it private?
No, this is a private charter school.
Okay, so it's not gonna remove the property from the tax rolls?
No, sir.
And one final question. It's a state road 25. Is the speed gonna reduce down to school speed?
I have not received correspondence from the DOT. I mean, I could follow, that's really a DOT function about dictating speeds. I've not received any comments yet.
Yeah, I'm just concerned because, you know, it's a log jam there anyway. And if they reduce the speed to, you know, school speed limits, just curious about the impact on local traffic. That's it.
All right.
Do we have a condition in the administrative approval that would address comments by the DOT?
I did not put one in there. I can include one if
I
you'd
think
like.
so, so we're covered, Ed, right?
Yeah, please.
I don't think the applicant would object to that.
May I speak for a moment? We are the applicant. My name is Catherine. I'm from Peconic Community School. I just have a question. Would that delay our resolution, or
No.
will the okay.
No. We're gonna vote
Yeah.
on it, we're gonna vote on the administrative, approval today, but if the DOT comments come back a month from now and they have some issues, you will have to comply with them.
Yeah, we would not at all object to a slower speed in front of the facility. We would be very much in favor of
Okay.
it, so.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay, next item, the proposed drive-in, I believe this is the Sonic, and retail site on Route 58 in Riverhead. Greg, this one's yours also, right?
Correct. I would just like to just make a clarification, something that has come to my knowledge since the report's gone out. Sonic is not currently sponsoring this application. They're not involved right now. This application had lingered around. It's been with the town since around 2014, 2015, as this board is very familiar with. Apparently, just based on the delays and the timeframes, Sonic had backed out of the project. The applicant's desire at this point is to effectively get the necessary permits, special permits from the town board, get these site plan approvals in an attempt to lure Sonic back to the site. So Sonic is not an active participant. This is the property owner trying to get that user back to the site. So just to provide clarification. Now that did come up during the town board special permit, that what if Sonic doesn't come back? Could another user go in there? The answer to that is hypothetically yes. However, the way the site is designed and configured, it's really set up for a Sonic use, which is kind of a singular fast food user. There aren't a lot of, to my knowledge, other car hop kind of drive-in fast food restaurant services. So I mean, if a similar user, a different fast food restaurant were to come in, they'd be redoing the site plan from the start.
They need a new site plan.
Correct. They would need a new site plan, and really, if it was just a regular fast food user, it wouldn't require a special permit from the town board. The special permit is required for the drive-in service, as long as it's not adjacent to any residential uses, which it's not. So, just to clarify, that's where kind of we're at, and as far as Sonic's involvement with the application thus far.
Okay.
So just to recap, the planning department's received and reviewed a special permit and site plan application proposing to develop a vacant site with a new 2,759 square foot drive-in restaurant with 57 seats, 41 indoor and 16 outdoor, along with 22 drive-in curb service parking stalls, as well as a 5,000 square foot single-story retail building, a detached storage shed, and related parking, landscaping, lighting, and stormwater management systems. New connections to the Riverhead Water District and the Riverhead Sewer District are proposed. The proposed action is a type 1 action pursuant to our town code, pursuant to SECRA, as it involves more than 50 parking stalls. The town board did initiate a type 1 coordinator review with the application and requested lead agency. We are currently waiting on responses for comments from involved agencies back. Project site is located on the north side of Old Country Road, approximately 230 feet west of the intersection of Osborne Avenue and Old Country Road, on a 1.78 acre parcel of land identified as Suffolk County Tax Map 600-108-2-6.1. The property has frontage on both Old Country Road and Osborne Avenue. In its current state, the application will require several variances for unoccupied front yard, a proposed front yard setback, as well as a proposed side yard and combined yard setback, which do not comply with the town code. The applicant must first get through the Zoning Board of Appeals before they can get any special permit or site plan approval. The staff report does include some criteria really pertinent to the special permit, so I will skip forward to the relevant aspects for the planning board. In terms of access, the site plan currently proposes unrestricted ingress and a right-only egress along Old Country Road, as well as a one-way egress and a one-way ingress along Osborne Avenue. Proposed curb cuts on Osborne will require a highway work permit from the Riverhead Highway Department, And any curb cuts and improvements in the Old Country Road right-of-way will require a permit from the Suffolk County Department of Public Works. Since the planning board has last reviewed this application, the applicant has submitted an updated traffic impact statement prepared by R&M Engineering, PC, dated June 2020. This TIS analyzed the proposed development and assessed its impacts on traffic patterns in the vicinity of the site, and it also took into account other planned projects in the area, including the Garston Retail Center, which is currently under construction, and the Long Island Cauliflower Association Retail Center, which is a site plan which is currently being contemplated by the planning board. The TIS concluded that the introduction of the increased levels of traffic from the proposed development would not pose any significant impacts upon the operation of the existing roadway network in the vicinity of the site. And the TIS identified that the level of service at the Old Country Road and Osborne Avenue intersection will remain at a B as in boy rating. No additional traffic mitigation measures are proposed by the TIS. In its previous submission and previous reviews by the planning board, one initial significant concern was the potential for the novelty phase of the restaurant when it first opens. The planning board did note, and it was well documented at other Sonics that open on Long Island and elsewhere, there was a significant novelty phase whereby there was significantly long lines, required potential police traffic mitigation measures. The applicant did note that this would be the 5th Sonic restaurant open on Long Island, and as such, they do not anticipate a significant novelty phase. However, I do note that the closest Sonic restaurant right now is located in Nesconset, approximately 25 miles away. So this restaurant, if Sonic does come in, would serve a geographically distinct area. So it's really to be determined whether or not there would be that novelty phase.
Greg, have we got any input from the Riverhead Ambulance Corps lately? I know they had some concerns about that driveway, being
I haven't
cars
gotten.
queued up.
I have not gotten new comments from them. I didn't refer to them in the secret review phase. I can coordinate with them, get some
Yeah,
additional
just-
comments.
We want to make sure their concerns are addressed.
All right. The application now does propose no standing anytime signs along Osborne Avenue and road frontage. And I believe in previous discussions, the applicant has stated that they would put staff out there or some other way to make sure that the ambulance corps building is not blocked off during any potential high queue phases.
So Greg,
Yes.
is the applicant on today?
We have, I believe, Bob Loro, and I think we have Robert Muller, who was the traffic engineer.
Okay, so we did not have a public hearing on this yet, correct?
Correct.
But the Riverhead Ambulance chief, I think it was at the time, showed up and presented some concerns with us. So I suspect that we would probably hear from them again at a public hearing. But Ed, I agree, if I recall correctly, there was a concern, and we had asked for additional signage on Osborne Avenue, not to block the ambulance access. And also, I believe we requested that, traffic control people be available for this opening surge, because they will have one, regardless how close or far the other restaurant is. It seems to be, as you labeled it, a novelty in Riverhead, and boy, it could last for months. So they're really gonna need people out there if, we're gonna move forward. And I don't think that, the applicant would object to that to move this forward.
I agree, and that was a concern that was brought up by the town board as well. We spoke about any, potential, if there's any need for police service, police mitigation during this, that the applicant should provide funding for that. That should not fall on the taxpayer's dime.
Dan, as I recall, I think there may have been a public hearing. The reason why I say that, because I remember Agway showed up at the meeting.
Yeah,
So I think there may have been a.
that's why I asked, but,
Just, it was a similar concern. That's
I
all.
don't know if I honestly don't recall, because if they didn't have a special permit yet, I don't think we ever got to the public hearing. But I think the people showed up and spoke under open comments when we had them here for a discussion item.
That sounds accurate. Your statement is correct. I mean, as I was reviewing the files, this was one that Karen reviewed. I wasn't honestly entirely too sure how it got through such extensive review with the planning board prior to going to the town board. So regardless of what's happened previously, I'm kind of starting afresh in a sense. We want to go through the process properly. We presented it to the town board. We're now here to get the planning board's comments, relay all their feedback and their concerns back to the town board so that they can consider them in their decision to grant a special permit.
I do have a couple more questions, but I think I'll let you get through your report first.
All right. So yeah, I spoke about the novelty phase, the queuing. So one of the significant things that I identified with the plan is the general traffic flow throughout the site and the potential for there to be sort of a bottleneck traffic jam in a sense. I do note that when I scale the plans, the way the drive-through works, you would enter along the east side of the building, wrap around the northeast side of the building, receive your order on the northwest side of the building, and then drive out and either exit out to Old Country Road, or you'd have to loop back around on the south side of the site to get back out to Osborne. Now, the plans do appear that they could present the potential for kind of a choke point. I've spoken with Robert Loro from the Loro Group. I've made the recommendation that any traffic ways, even though they are one way, they should be widened to the maximum extent practicable to allow people to pass by. So if there were a significant line of cars queued up, someone's not going to get stuck in the site and have to like wait to queue out to get out of the building. I did, like I said, if Robert Loro would like to comment on that or provide any feedback on that, I believe he was in agreement that he could make something work.
Yes, good afternoon, Robert Lauro from the Lauro Group. Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Mr. Bergman is right, we did speak about the aisleway configuration. At the southern portion where you're trying to make a decision either to go out to Old Country Road or to make a left and go counterclockwise to get out to Osborne for the purposes of going north on Osborne, or to go to the traffic light to go eastbound on Old Country Road 58. We are going to widen that driveway that the planner is talking about. It's currently right now at 20 feet. If you notice on just the opposite side as you come into the site and you want to go to the drive-in stalls, we have a 22-foot driveway there. That allows some additional comfort for someone to pass by, somebody that's pulling into or maneuvering out of the drive-in stall. We'd like to mimic that on the west side of the drive aisle that we're talking about, going from a 20-foot to a 22-foot. So we minimize or avoid that type of a choke point. So in case there is a backup of cars queued to go out to Old Country Road, they can actually, those cars that don't want to go out to Old Country, that want to go out to Osborne, can pass those cars. So I'd like to accommodate that by increasing that width to 22 foot. And I think in coordination with the traffic engineer, who we haven't spoken to yet about this, so this just is pretty much new things that are coming up. I'd like to probably include a stripe, a white stripe, dash stripe going down that aisleway from south to north, just to help keep cars, if they want to go to Old Country, they stay on the right side, which would be the west side. Cars that want to go out to Osborne could stay on the left side. Just a delineating line to show you have the width and the comfort to do that, to make the passing.
And you think that a single line along there will make that clear and provide enough room for two cars, let's say, to pass each other?
Yeah, because right now we're one-way circulation. You know, a normal parking stall is 9 feet in width. We have 22 on the east side of this site development for the Sonic. It's comfort, we use it regularly on all the Sonics. It's actually a standard, they use 18 feet. But we're providing 22 feet, 22 foot on the side that we're talking about now, so we eliminate that type of a choke point where any
You're gonna
cars
steal it from the other side?
Pardon me?
You're gonna steal it from the other side? You take that 22 and make it 20?
That's, I don't think we're gonna have enough room for that, I don't. Oh, on the other side, yeah, we're gonna take it from the other side, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
shorten
We're gonna
one,
take it
lengthen
from-
the other?
From that little sidewalk area that you noticed there, we're gonna take 2 feet out of that to increase the width. That's going in the westbound towards the 5,000 square foot retail, proposed retail. So that'll give us the room to accommodate the 22 foot comfortably for the drive aisle expansion from 20 to 22 foot. So now you'll have 22 feet on both sides, both aisleways with 22 feet.
Got the blocks like
So,
right in the middle of the table.
I don't think we heard you, Dick.
He didn't hear me, no. Have a model, any chance in way out there thinking have a model that we could put on that table in design? You know,
A model?
traffic flow in the buildings, and it'd be a lot easier.
Electronic,
I mean, we can
Electronic.
work,
Pardon?
we,
electronic,
Blocks, like,
blocks.
whatever's easier, if it's available. This is,
every site on Long Island so
Mhm.
far, the Sonic locations all have the same type of configuration. Some of them are pad sites in a mall, some of them are freestanding on a separate, their own pad, so they don't intermingle with other types of uses. We can certainly show you those site plans. They're all functioning very well, not just on Long Island, but throughout the country. It is a standard for them. And the clockwise and the counterclockwise circulation is the typical prototypical layout for a Sonic. It works very well. The aisleways accommodate not only the access to the 60-degree angle stalls, but they also give you the ease of passing by, some extra comfort, which is what we're showing here. And you'll see that Deer Park was the first location to open up. We're very similar in the same situation with Deer Park, Valley Stream, East Meadow, Smithtown, all operate under the same type of prototypical layout. The only difference is East Meadow is a larger building because it was a conversion from a prior Burger King that went dark, and the site was much larger. But we held the same type of standards when it came to the aisleways, and then the extra space that we didn't need because the site was larger, we accommodated with additional landscaping on the side yards. So even though we had a bigger site, we still maintained the same type of operational characteristics for Sonic from a design standpoint.
One question I have is, if you're coming in, well, a few questions, but I don't think they're significant. If you're coming in off Old Country Road, and you make the right to get on either in one of the stalls or around to the drive-through, it appears that turning radius is very tight for a car, because they have to make a right turn in there, and then they gotta continue to make a right turn to get into that lane to either get to a stall or to drive-through. So can the turning radius be improved a little bit there, so that it's easier for the cars to make a right turn?
We can demonstrate that with a circulation movement, with a vehicle movement on circulation plan to show you that. We actually modified that radius, working with DPW as well, to make that a smoother transition, so you're not pumping the brakes and slowing down, trying to make that it's almost like a 180 turn, a 90-degree turn, in a very hard, tight spot. We actually smoothed out the radius so that flows a lot better with cars coming into the driveway. So we recognize that.
It's just hard to visualize on paper, but I know a lot of the developments along Route 58, it's really hard to make these turns without going into the oncoming traffic, and it just, on paper here, it appears a little tight.
Yep. Wayne, are you on?
Yes.
What would you think about if we change that to a 12-foot type of radius, going from 10 to a 12-foot? That's at the Old Country curb cut, where
Yeah, I think that would definitely improve the.
even smoother.
Yeah, make it a lot smoother.
Another question I had, this proposed retail space. So do you envision the fast food being constructed in opened before the retail or at the same time?
Even though we've been at this for a long time, Mr. Chairman, the tenant's interest on that retail building to the west, what I call the excess tenant building, has been very slow to come by. The only interest has been maybe some phone stores, which are very quiet type of uses typically. But right now we have nothing out on leases, letter of intents have come in. We anticipate, and I'm sure the landlord, upon getting approvals for this, would most likely stage the opening of that retail to allow some additional queue space to accommodate if Sonic does come back. If that's your concern, to give some more room for additional parking, some overflow. Right now, there are no tenants. We anticipate this eastern side of the development of the lot being constructed and open before we have the west side tenant in place.
So that's just my concern. You know, as far as construction staging, would that parking and drainage be completed at the same time, infrastructure-wise, just to allow for maybe the base coat of asphalt for that area, so that, you know, all of that major infrastructure construction is not taking place when this place is active.
The only thing you're gonna find that won't be completed would be the operation of a tenant in the facility,
Okay.
the 5,000, or tenants operational, but all the other work will be done.
Perfect, thank you. The other question I had was, the cross-access. Are we confident, Greg, that we're gonna be able to get that cross-access?
Well, so the plan does identify a future cross-access area. It is not proposed to be improved at this time. If you'd like them to construct their portion of the cross-access, I mean, you know, I don't know how likely they are to get the agreement from the neighboring gas station in the absence of the gas station coming in to do some work. But if the applicant for this application files the cross-access agreement, we would then have the opportunity, if the gas station comes in for work, to get that cross-access, to have that line up. So it's really just a matter of timing and, you know, who's coming in for what work.
Okay.
So we're gonna commit to that. If it's gonna be a consent requirement, we'll commit to it. We will solicit the landowner through our land use attorney and see what the response is. That's about as best as we can do. We can't force it, but we will
Right.
certainly consent to the future cross-access.
Okay.
So at some point in the future.
That's all we can ask, thank you.
Is that it?
That's it,
All right,
thank you.
excellent. Just passed by traffic, all right. As I said, they are proposing new water and sewer connections. The parcel is located within Riverhead Water District, extension number 8, and it is located within the boundaries of the sewer district. We did get some comments on the previous revisions of the plans. Back in October of 2018, the Water District noted that the meter and RPZ inside the proposed fast food restaurants are acceptable, as well as the meter and the RPZ in a vault and hot box for future use on the retail building. It is noted that the current plans do reflect those same locations of the RPZ and meter locations. I did get a follow-up email from the Water District dated October 27th, 2020, that just said that the applicant will need to make application for water to the Water District. RPZ submittal and key money fees will apply. In terms of sewer, the proposed sewer connection, we did get a letter in November of 2017. They said that this project parcel is located within the boundaries of the Riverhead Sewer District, with connection available to service that property. They are proposing to directionally bore underneath Old Country Road in order to connect to the existing sewer main on the south side of Old Country Road. So that's going to be part of their sewer district application. I'm assuming it would probably need to be coordinated with Suffolk County DPW, but they are proposing to connect to a sewer on the south side of Old Country Road. We got some comments on the last round from the town engineer. I have not gotten updated comments. In its previous iterations, the plan was reviewed by the Conservation Advisory Council. The Conservation Advisory Council, based on its proximity to a town-regulated freshwater wetland, it is also a DEC freshwater regulated wetland. They had comments that the interim landscaping plan shall be revised to include a note that the area in the pad site of the retail building will be seeded with creeping red fescue, as this type of grass is minimally dependent on nitrogen-based fertilizers, thereby reducing the potential introduction for nitrogen into the wetlands, and it was contingent upon receiving the necessary New York State DEC approvals. The application was reviewed by the ARB back in 2017. The ARB recommended approval of the project as is, with a note that the signs will require a separate application to the building department. I do note that in that review, the ARB only reviewed elevation and architectural plans for the proposed, at that time, the Sonic building. There were no elevations that were provided for the retail building, as it was a phased development. So they would have to come back prior to the issuance, if they get the special permit and site plan approval, they would have to come back to the ARB for the construction of that 5,000 square foot retail building. We got comments from the Department of Public Works back in 2015. They were pretty standard. You know, permit from DPW were required, impact fee, and access modifications are needed upon final design. We had some comments from the fire marshal back in 2015. Those comments at that time stated that they requested the plans show drainage, and that all curbing and entrances and exits be mountable, and the widths of the entrance and exits on Osborne Avenue be shown. The curbs now are shown as mountable, and they have shown all the access widths on that plan. This application will require health department approval for new buildings, as well as water and sanitary connections, as well as a stormwater pollution prevention plan, as they propose land disturbance in excess of 1 acre.
So, we really can't, Ed, did you have anything else?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, I have that to him.
Why this is ink on paper, what we have is the sonic layout that they use everywhere that works, so that's good. So you don't wanna change something that works. But the way this is laid out on this paper, we have 15 feet of landscaping on Route 58. I find that unacceptable by a long shot. This project could be moved this way. They'd have to reconfigure their other building, and that would give us a ton more landscaping on Route 58. If their plan works, their layout works, I'm happy with the layout, but they have to move it, in my opinion, to drastically increase the landscaping on Route 58. That's what I would like to see addressed.
So, Greg, let me ask you, right across the street and next door, what kind of landscaping did we approve on those sites? Didn't we approve a Zwanger across the street?
For the Apple Honda,
On a corner?
I off the top of my head, I mean, I know the landscaping buffer is not significant for Apple Honda. I mean, driving by it,
What
it's
about, next door, the one next door to the town garage?
the Garston Retail Center.
Yeah,
I haven't looked at those
along
plans.
58.
I'd have to look at it. I mean, off the top of my head, I don't know what the approved landscaping plan is.
Okay, so let's take a look at that and let's be consistent with what we required on those two projects.
What about the gas station next door?
They don't have anything.
No.
Oh,
Stan, I understand being consistent's good, but we have ink on paper, we can make easy changes to make things better. That's-
Right, but along the same lines, the Garston Retail, we tore down 1,000 trees and didn't go the extra mile to preserve the trees, and now we're asking for more landscaping right next door, so I think we should try and be a little consistent with what we're asking for. I agree, it should look nice and have adequate landscaping, but we tore down a forest right next door. So, you know, let's be fair to everybody, and let's just see for comparison what we approved on the projects right across the street and right next door. I'm not saying, you know, we're signing on a dotted line right now, but let's put it all on the table and we'll get back to them.
Well, we can look back and say we shouldn't have done it that way. We can agree now that it's done, we shouldn't have done it that way. Here, we have a chance to make it better, and I would like it to be considered, that's it.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Landscaping, landscaping, look at Apple Honda Garston. Joe, did you have comments?
well, yeah, yes, I do. I have some questions, really.
All right.
On those drive-in or drive-up, where the people can get service,
Mhm.
the number of that are provided, is that standard for Sonic,
21.
or is that just based on the site and the site development?
No, there is some flexibility with that, but in the New York, this market, their ideal target is 22 to 25 drive installs, if you're referring to the drive installs. So the minimum they use is 22, and I believe we're doing 20, there's 22 for this location.
Yeah,
And I just want to make, if you don't mind, I don't want to interrupt on your time, but just to address, go back a minute on the landscaping. I understand about the streetscape concerns, and that's a very valid concern. We try to pay as much attention to achieving that as possible. On the western side of the site, we obviously have a 30-foot. We didn't try to encroach it with any parking and head-in parking. There were some iterations that showed some of that. The town was very adamant in planning at some of the workshops about increasing the depth of the landscaping. So on the west side, we were able to achieve that with a reconfiguration. On the eastern side that you're talking about with the smaller, the shallower depth of about 15 feet, I think one of the concessions that we worked out, I believe, at least in conversation, I believe was at one of the workshops, was that we decided we were going to berm the 15 feet to create a little extra elevation on the 15 feet with some different type of plantings so that looking at it from the streetscape, you couldn't tell if it was 15 feet or 20 feet in width because of the way we were gonna do the berm. So we tried to achieve some give back on the 15-foot from maybe a 30-foot by berming it and changing the plantings, which were part of the suggestions of planning at that time, at least in the workshop anyway. So it doesn't show that on the paper, but I just wanted to make you aware that that's one of the things we tried to achieve, was creating some height, some elevation difference, which would also block the aisleway you wouldn't see from the street, and give you some depth perspective that wouldn't actually be accurate as far as a 30-foot, even though it's a 15-foot.
Greg?
Well, so I do know, I mean, this is a strong recommendation, but I mean, the site right now, you know, they're right at the threshold for the required parking. As he stated, you know, the 22 drive-in stalls. Being that this is a tight site, they are trying to really effectively kind of max out what they can realistically put on the site. Maybe the applicant would consider scaling back the size of that retail building, because that would buy them, if they scaled the size of the building back, it would reduce the footprint of the building, it would reduce the amount of required parking for that building. There's also on the Osborne Avenue frontage, there are some parking stalls. Now, I mean, in order to satisfy your comments, Ed, you know, if they were to shift some of those drive-in stalls to that northeast side, you know, I mean, maybe there could be some just concessions, some negotiations, and reducing that size to try to facilitate more landscaping along Old Country Road, and still allow them to reconfigure any potential drive-in stalls that really, you know, it would hopefully satisfy an applicant, and sounds like it would maybe satisfy the board with some of its concerns regarding traffic, landscaping, et cetera. It's something to think about, because you are proposing two intense uses. Not that I want to rock the boat, but the town board, some of the members of the town board did have concerns about the four-way intersection at Old Country Road. There was some discussion about maybe redoing that to kind of almost segregate the retail use and then have kind of a traffic pattern. But I mean, again, at this point, for the purposes of this discussion, you know, to get the planning board's initial preliminary concerns related to the town board, you know, I'd like to kind of flush that out and just have some clear direction to give back to the town board in their consideration for the special permit.
Okay, I'll go on. The parking spaces for people that would go into the restaurant, is that calculated along with the drive-in locations? Are they all added together to give you the maximum parking?
Yeah, I think part of your code is the building areas, the exterior, the outdoor areas, all of that was part of the overall parking calculation for the
So the
code.
drive-up lanes are considered part of
Yes.
the parking? They're not
Correct.
separate?
That's correct, because you're going in, you're not leaving your car, you're staying there, you're doing the same transaction as though you're in the
Okay.
store, but you're doing it all from your vehicle.
Because I have some, you were talking about the, what is it, I guess the west side, where the drive-in people and people from Osborne will come down that lane, and you said that possibly you would make that a little wider and then put a line down the center. But also, what concerns me is the fact you've got all these drive-in stalls there, and people would be backing out. It sounds like it's just an accident waiting to happen. And almost the same thing on the other side where the Sonics are, with other people going up north, and you have the two lanes of driving that people are gonna be backing in. It just looks very confusing.
Well,
Next. Go
I
ahead.
think part of the way you can look at this, I'll give you maybe two examples for reasoning. These are no different than regular parking stalls that are back to back, and you're pulling out, pulling in, same type of activity, probably about the same duration as if you're leaving your car to go into a store, and then coming back out, loading your car, and then leaving. The other thing I want to call to your attention, again, this is a widely used, there's nothing unique about this Sonic layout at this location than all the other locations on the island, as well as throughout the country. It works extremely well. Not everybody's pulling in at the same time, not everybody's ordering at the same pace, not everybody is consuming and then leaving at the same time. It's a very, it balances itself out very well. And we don't have any congestion problems or any interference, any accident issues on any locations at these Sonics. And this is gonna be the same operator, if we're able to get them back, that's operating all the other, gonna be 5 or 6 locations with Mastic opening up, or Shirley, I should say, in the very near future in '21. So that is a new location. I think it's being approved as we speak with the town of Brookhaven. Same type of configuration, a pad site in an overall shopping center, Majestic Shopping Center, just off of the LIU William Floyd Parkway. So, so this layout is remarkably, it works very well with the directionalized configuration. A lot of other big box users typically have employed one-way circulation. Walmart, for example, has used one-way circulations in a lot of their locations. So I understand, looking at it on paper, it looks like there's could be a lot of activity, but if you don't have that type of ongoing interference at a high
Okay.
frequency.
I have another concern. If I'm coming out of the drive-in, I go down this lane, I can go and get out onto Old Country Road. Is that correct? I go to that stop sign, I can make a left, and I can get out onto Old Country Road going west,
That's correct,
right?
yes.
Okay. That just seems to be another one of those points where you were gonna have a lot of congestion. People wanted to go different ways.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess my last comment is I just think the site, it's like trying to take 10 pounds of soil and put it in a 5-gallon bucket. I just think if you got rid of the retail establishment and kept the whole site the way it is, I think it would blend a lot better.
So one of the, couple of the aspects about this property, which has a tremendous amount of uniqueness to it, which does create a hardship for the owner and anyone trying to develop it. Number one is the geometry. It's got a very awkward geometry as you're approaching from Old Country Road to Osborne, especially where we wrap the gas station. It creates some side yard challenges, even some front yard challenges. We have pretty much 2 front yards now, Osborne and Old Country. But more importantly, we did lose about 8,000 square feet and change of lot area. And the reason being because we're adhering to the town code regarding steep slopes, and we had wetlands to the west. And we're revegetating that entire wetland area. This site was filled in, which violated the DEC standards for wetland preservation when they filled it in, I think as part of raising Old Country Road. The site has been, I think with QP mix, like a quarry mix, has been laid down over the years and encroached into some of the vegetation. So we're reclaiming a lot of that land and trying to restore it over time with the DEC permit that we obtained for the wetlands. But
So you have a
furthermore,
permit? You have a
Yes.
DEC permit?
we obtained that permit, I believe, in February 27th of 2018, and we're concerned because we're expiring in 2023 on February 26th of 2023. But I want to also point out one other non-self-created hardship with this particular parcel. We don't have a sewer fronting us. Our sewer is on the south side of Old Country Road, diagonally across from our westernmost property line, and it's to the west of our westernmost property line. So we can't do a typical underground horizontal pour and bore. We have to go on an angle. The costs that have been coming back over the last 3 years, we keep going at it with all different purveyors, working with Mike Reichel with the Riverhead Sewer Department, is astronomical. And this excess tenant, which is why I'm calling it an excess tenant, is very much desirous with a determined rent roll in order to help offset the cost, because the Sonic restaurant alone, it doesn't have Sonics don't have a tremendous throughput, volume. It can't sustain the rent calculation if this Sonic had to bear all the costs for development. So that's why that we went from a 7,000 down to a 5,000. Not all voluntary. I don't want to give you any misconception. Part of it was due to the wetland, and as we started flagging things out, we learned that there was more of an encroachment to the east, which we had to make the building smaller and smaller. We also voluntarily made it smaller to achieve a better Landscaping along Old Country Road with the setbacks, we had to lose, I think, 3 or 4 parking stalls, 3 parking stalls, I think it was, which also further reduced the building size, so, in order to get back on the front landscape.
Do we
So
know
my-
whether there's any possibility of a sewer on Osborne?
Pardon me?
If Osborne has no sewer?
No.
No?
No, we checked that, yeah. The nearest sewer is further to the east at the intersection, I think. Look, it's even more complicated to get to that one, and the pitch is wrong. It's on the high side, I believe.
Yeah, we can't get to it.
So there've been a lot of challenges,
Mhm.
on the civil side, for all the things that you can't see. A lot of the money, unfortunately, is being spent underground, like the sewer costs are crazy, but, you know, listen, it's the cost of development, we understand that. But that is why we're trying to achieve, keep the minimum number of menu boards, we're not looking to do more than that, and a reasonable square foot on the building, assuming they can hopefully rent it out, to a decent creditworthy tenant, which is gonna be key, so. And as we all know, retail, there's not many retail tenants looking for ground-up space, so, you know, brand-new space.
Stick with the sewer district, except Holden Hall?
I'm having a hard time
Within the
hearing.
district, yeah.
So is the sewer line, I guess by directional drill, it wouldn't be a gravity sewer?
Yes, we're trying to hit it with a gravity flow.
That's very difficult with the directional drill when you have all the other utilities to navigate.
We have, pretty much all of that worked out, at this point, and it's just a matter of, obviously, cost and the approvals, so. Now, we were recently alerted that someone did a project along Old Country, and the DPW, county DPW allowed them to open the road. That would be a tremendous, cost savings for this applicant, developer. I don't know if we're gonna luck out. Just recently heard that, so I don't know if we're gonna be able to be given that ability as well, but that would really make things a lot, probably take longer, obviously, but the cost, I think, would be, less intense than what we're looking at now.
Did you do any test bores on here?
What was that?
Test bores?
Yes, we did, soil borings, yes, we did.
Where, what was it, the groundwater? I didn't see it.
3 feet?
You know, that is a good question. I don't have it in front of me.
Not far.
It's gotta be on here somewhere.
Is that the groundwater?
Can't be far, that's for sure.
You see it? Yeah, it can't be far, I know.
It's on the- I don't have those plans. Do you have the drainage, the grading, drainage plan in front of you? I don't have that in front of me.
I've got the grading and drainage plan here in front of me.
There should be a, Tony, can you bring up on the?
Yeah. I don't,
I'm gonna have, Mr. Chairman, I'm gonna have somebody in my office here bring me the set of plans. I'll look at it.
Okay, I mean, it's not important right now, it's just a curiosity I have based on the conversation with the sewer.
That was, obviously, that was all taken into account with the drainage design that we did and storage.
I asked for a different reason. Joe, did you have anything else?
Nope, that's it.
Okay. All right, Greg, so you have a lot of the comments. I guess we don't do anything until the town board issues a special permit as far as the public hearing goes?
correct.
Okay, and then obviously we'll have them back, they've heard our concerns, and,
Do we have to pass some sort of resolution saying they gotta go to ZBA?
No, they'll be issued a denial letter,
That's what I meant.
but that doesn't need to be an action by the board.
okay,
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
thank you very much.
Thank you all. Thank you.
Okay, next item on the agenda is the Toys R Us conversion to the LIDL supermarket. Brian, this one's yours, right?
Yes. Planning Department has received and reviewed a site plan application seeking approval to renovate and repurpose a vacant retail space located at 1151 Old Country Road, previously occupied by retailer Toys R Us. The application proposes remodeling of the existing 35,167 square foot building into a grocery store. Proposed actions include facade upgrades, the installation of a grease trap to be tied into existing sanitary sewer, replacement of a portion of the parking lot with heavy-duty asphalt, and other related site improvements, including lighting and landscaping upgrades. The proposed site plan application is a Type 2 action pursuant to SECRA, which allows for the reuse of existing commercial structures along with minor improvements that are incidental to the reuse of existing structures. No further environmental review under SECRA is required. The subject parcel, particularly identified as Suffolk County Tax Map number 600-108-4-5.2, is a 3.78 acre parcel located on the south side of Old Country Road, approximately 520 feet east of the intersection of Old Country Road and Harrison Avenue. The parcel is located within the Business Center zoning use district. The site is currently improved with a 35,167 square foot single-story masonry building with an associated parking area. There's a timber retaining wall near the southern boundary of the lot, beyond which is a naturally wooded area. The surrounding uses are primarily commercial. The subject parcel shares its western boundary with a parcel currently in use as a Wendy's fast food restaurant, as well as with a parcel in use as an office.
Brian, is there gonna be food served in this? Are they gonna have food service or some sort of,
I believe they have some degree of food service proposed inside the building. The subject parcel's eastern boundary is shared with a campus-style office complex. The southern boundary of the subject parcel is shared with Riverhead High School. Facade improvements are proposed for the existing building, including the removal of the multicolored tile trim that currently spans the front of the building, along with repainting of the existing coping, fascia, trim, downspouts, and side doors. Removal and replacement of the existing parapet over the main entrance to the building is also proposed. New cart corrals are proposed near the main entrance to the building, with a metal canopy proposed over the corral on the western side of the building. Additionally, an approximately 50 square foot covered enclosure to house recycling machines is proposed on the northeast corner of the building. Lighting improvements are proposed, which include the modification of existing lighting fixtures as well as the addition of new lighting fixtures. There are 10 existing light poles throughout the site, which the applicant proposes to shorten to a mounting height of 16 feet. 2 new light poles are proposed on the western island of the front parking lot, along with 3 new light poles along the driveway leading to the rear of the lot. A total of 15 light poles are proposed throughout the site. There are 10 existing wall-mounted lighting fixtures on the exterior walls of the building. All 10 wall-mounted lighting fixtures are proposed to be replaced with dark sky compliant LED-based lighting fixtures. A new and additional wall-mounted light is proposed on the rear of the building for a total of 11 wall-mounted lights. All proposed lighting on site will be mounted at or below 16 feet and will be dark sky compliant with a color temperature of 3,000 degrees Kelvin. Based on the proposed use and the square footage of the existing building, a total of 141 parking stalls are required on site. The applicant proposes 142 parking stalls, including 5 handicapped accessible parking stalls and appropriate handicap accessible access aisles, which meets the quantity of handicapped accessible stalls required by town code. 3 cart corrals are proposed in the front parking lot, which have been correctly omitted from the parking calculations. The application proposes the removal and replacement of the existing asphalt leading from the entrance of the site on Old Country Road to the back delivery docks of the building. The removed pavement will be replaced with heavy-duty asphalt paving. The remainder of the existing asphalt pavement on site will be milled and will receive an asphalt overlay. Based on the number of parking stalls on site, town code requires a minimum of 15 trees to be planted throughout the parking lot. Presently, there are approximately 24 trees distributed throughout the parking lot. It is proposed that one of the existing trees will be removed to facilitate the construction of a concrete walkway directly adjacent to the handicap accessible parking area. A new dogwood tree is proposed near the roadway as a replacement. There's an existing hedge that spans the majority of the frontage of the property, which provides significant screening of the parking lot from the roadway. 62 northern bush honeysuckle shrubs, 75 dwarf inkberry holly shrubs, and 75 prairie dropseed ornamental grass plantings are proposed to be planted directly adjacent to the entrance of the site, as well as throughout the 2 parking lot islands. The islands of the parking lot will be regraded prior to planting and mulched with brown hardwood bark mulch. It should be noted that on the provided demolition plan, it is proposed that the existing ground cover, grass, or landscaping will be removed from the area on the northwestern edge of the property, which separates the parking lot of the subject parcel from the parking lot of the adjacent Wendy's. However, the provided landscaping plan describes the same area as, quote, area to remain natural. The applicant should clarify their intention with this area. Staff notes the curb cut for the subject parcel is an unsignalized access point along County Route 58. The board may wish to consider requiring that cross-access be established with a neighboring parcel to the east, as this would allow traffic leaving the site to access the signalized intersection in order to proceed west on CR 58. Cross-access already exists between Wendy's and the subject parcel. The board may desire to have the applicant construct their portion of the cross-access while the proposed improvements to the pavement are being made in association with this project. The subject parcel is within and currently served by both the Riverhead Water District and the Riverhead Sewer District. There was a wetland near the southern boundary of the subject parcel, which is shown on both DEC and Town of Riverhead freshwater wetland maps. However, there are no proposed ground disturbances beyond the limits of a timber retaining wall, which delineates the improved area of the subject parcel and its naturally wooded area where the wetland is partially located. This wetland appears to be primarily located on the lot where Riverhead High School operates. On a site visit on November 9th, 2020, Planning Department staff inspected the area beyond the timber retaining wall and noted various kinds of refuse distributed in the area, including concrete rubble, general litter, and most notably a metal 55-gallon drum. An additional 55-gallon drum was found empty on the northern side of the retaining wall near the edge of the paving. The majority of refuse appeared to be concentrated near the retaining wall. Staff recommends that any site plan approvals be conditioned on the applicant demonstrating that they have initiated contact with the DEC and have complied with any requirements for the site which may be imparted by the DEC. Conditions requiring the removal of the aforementioned refuse may also be desired. This application has been referred to the Town Engineering Department, the Town Fire Marshal's Office, the Suffolk County Department of Public Works, and the Suffolk County Planning Commission. Comments from the Engineering Department were received on November 12th, 2020. Review from the other departments and agencies is forthcoming. In a memo dated November 12th, 2020, the Engineering Department mentioned the potential for the need of a stormwater pollution prevention plan. However, our department spoke with the Engineering Department, and their mention of this plan being necessary was dependent on their understanding of the entire parking area to be resurfaced as being disturbed area. They seemed comfortable with considering just the proposed area to be replaced with heavy-duty pavement as being disturbed area, which should not require the need for this plan. Due to the fact that the building is more than 4,000 square feet, the site plan does not fall under the administrative site plan provisions of Town Code. However, based on the fact that the site plan does not propose any additions to the building or change from its additional use, the planning board should determine whether a public hearing is appropriate for the application. The Architectural Review Board did review this project and its elevations at its meeting last night. They had generally favorable comments for it. They mentioned a few potential changes, including the potential of a shadow line along the front face of the building or appropriate striping that would replicate this. But review was generally favorable, as it was, as also for the signs for the project.
Brian, is the applicant on with us right now?
Yes, I believe we should have representative from Bowler Engineering on
Oh,
call.
Bowler? Okay, could you
Hi.
on?
Kristen Deliver from Bowler.
Good, hi, how are you?
Good, thanks.
So, you ask about the public hearing. Trying to remember, but wasn't this, Ed, a, meat farms before?
Grimaldi's.
So it was a supermarket,
Yeah.
before Toys R Us, I don't know if you knew that.
Correct.
I'm not aware of that.
So it
Yep.
was a supermarket, so I would think that, listen, I'm very supportive of repurposing empty buildings, so I don't see the need for a public hearing on this.
I agree.
It was a supermarket. Joe and Dick, you agree?
I don't think that's a bad idea.
Okay.
What's the size of the parking stalls?
I'm sorry, the size of the parking stalls?
Yeah.
They're compliant with town code at 10 feet by 20 feet.
They are 10 by 10?
Sorry?
They are?
They are compliant.
And where would you suggest the cross-access?
So that was my next question.
I'm sorry.
There is one there already, isn't there? I mean, you could drive
To
from
the
Wendy's.
Yes,
to-
correct. There's a cross-access,
So I think it was constructed on one side but not the other, is that what you're saying?
correct, yeah. There's a cross-access between the subject parcel and the Wendy's to the west of the parcel.
Okay,
However, to the east of the parcel, there's a medical complex or an office complex.
oh, on the other side.
Yes,
Got
and
it.
And that's signalized.
that's a signalized intersection. And the elevations between the two lots appear to be very uniform.
Yeah.
So yeah, there would be a potential for a cross-access there if the
Yeah,
board so
Brian, I
desired.
strongly agree with you. I think that's a good idea because it's a signalized intersection.
Yep.
If I had to suggest a location, I might consider keeping it away from the front of the building so that no pedestrians crossing between the parking area and their parking, their vehicles would be interrupted by vehicles traveling through the site.
Let the applicant can pick a spot?
I'm sorry?
The applicant could pick a spot for us,
Yes.
wherever you think it should go.
So I don't know if you could hear us from Bowler, but we're suggesting that you work with Brian to pick the appropriate location for a cross-access on the east side of the property.
Yep, and my client would be happy to get that cross-access, because obviously it would benefit their property to have access to that signal. They can start the conversations with the adjacent property owner, but I don't know that they would be open to that agreement. So they'll make the effort on their part, and we'll certainly show a location that is agreed upon with the town. I'm unsure that the other property owner is willing to agree to that.
Okay, we'll try, right?
Yep.
Any other questions from the board?
Nope.
I mean, I like, again, repurposing these buildings. Let's fast track this and get this building occupied. Whatever we could do to keep it moving.
Understood.
All right?
When you
I
look at.
can clarify a few of the items that were in the memo, as far as the need for a SWIP. We are only disturbing, 0.55 acres. The 1.84 acres that was noted was the complete area of work, so where we were also milling and overlaying. So we definitely are not disturbing over an acre, which means we would not be triggered to do that SWIP report.
If you look at the east side of this property line for a cross-access, right adjacent to the property line is that driveway that goes out to the signalizer. So they wouldn't really be impacting that facility because people would just go and make a left turn.
So I don't know,
I think
I
it's
just
the
shared
right
my
place.
screen, if you guys can see it.
Yeah,
this
that's pretty good.
area. So we would have the potential of providing a cross-access,
Yeah.
right in this area where it aligns with their first drive aisle as well.
Yeah.
Great. Okay, any other comments you'd like to clarify?
Just that the applicant would work with the property owner to, have that wetlands area cleaned up, and we have made an application to New York State DEC. We received a notice of receipt of application, which we can provide, and we have received the chain of title, the 50-year chain of title.
Great. Okay. All right, very good, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, next on the agenda, we don't have any public hearings scheduled. Any comments from the public on resolutions? Any comments from the public on resolutions. Is anyone up there? No? If anyone wants to comment on the resolutions, if you could unmute yourself and let us know. Okay, we'll move on to the resolutions.
Move resolution number 74 for Birchwood at Wading River, resolution to extend performance security. So moved.
Second?
Motion made and seconded to approve resolution 74 for Birchwood at Wading River. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution is approved.
I'll move resolution number 75, adopting the final scope pursuant to the site plan application of HK Ventures.
Second.
Okay, motion made and seconded to approve the final scope for HK Ventures for the DEIS, resolution 75. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution is approved.
I'll move resolution 76 for Holly Estates minor subdivision, extension of time. So moved.
Second?
Motion made and seconded to approve resolution 76, for extension of time for Holly Estates. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution is approved. Okay, so 77, we had a request from the applicant to table this resolution today. We did get it to a point for county consideration for preservation, so I guess the applicant is looking into a few other open matters, so I would like to entertain a motion to table this for the time being.
So moved.
At the applicant's request.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, tabled it is. Thank you.
Move resolution number 78 with Greg's amendments for Peconic Community School. So
Second.
moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to approve amended resolution 78 to include the sanitary information and any DOT comments for Peconic Community School. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution is approved. Public comment on any matter in front of the planning board. Any public comments at all? Okay, the minutes.
I'd like to move the minutes of the November 5th planning board meeting. So moved.
Second?
Motion made and seconded to approve the minutes of November 5th, 2020. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes are approved. Next meeting, Thursday, December 3rd, 2020 at 7 p.m. Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Have a nice Thanksgiving,
All right.
everybody.
Thank you.
Happy
Have a good night.
Thanksgiving.
While I have the board here, on